unceded territories of the Agua Caliente Band of Cahuilla people who have stewarded this land, their land, through the generations. And that we also strongly commit to grow in our understanding and relationship with this land, our dependence on it, and with the people who inhabited it and nurtured it before our arrival, because it too is a holy place. And as with our connection to and interdependence on our land, we also strive to honor the inherent worth and dignity of every person in this congregation. And what that means to all of you is that all of you are welcome. You're welcome no matter your sexual orientation or gender identity, your age or your size, whether you are rich or whether you are poor, no matter your immigration status or your race, religion, or culture, and particularly wherever you come from and whomever you love. Out of a community of diverse heritage and belief, we come together to share our hope and to create good in the world. So come and learn and grow with us as we commit together to embrace the rich and beautiful diversity of the world. I invite all of you to help build a community centered in justice, in compassion, and in love. We are very grateful for your presence. All right. Well, again, welcome, and please join us for coffee after our service. If you want to learn more about us or our programming, please contact the office at admin, ADMIN, at uucod.org, or visit our website, also uucod.org. And to make it even easier, you can see one of our members at the welcome table in the lobby after service. So now, let's take a deep breath as we calm our minds and our bodies while Reverend Ian rings the Tibetan bowl and we listen to the wonderful Joel Baker play our music for centering to start the service.
Good morning, and again, welcome. I'm the Reverend Ian Riddell. I have the honor and joy of serving this congregation as its minister. However you found us, however many times you've been here with us in person or online, welcome. We are a congregation grounded in our commitment to love and an evolving tradition that celebrates the richness and beauty of individual lives and commits to working together to weave a tapestry made stronger and more vibrant by our collaboration and by the sharing of our lives and our visions for a thriving, loving, and just future for all of life. As we begin our gathering today, I want to invite you into a time of curiosity. We will be sharing words from our religious ancestors today, ancestors who named the great mystery differently than you or I might name it. And our ancestors have something to tell us about who we have been and who we might be. And so I invite you to respond to their words, if they're different words than you would use. I invite you to respond to their words and experiences with curiosity and not judgment. And I need your help as we begin our call to worship today. Will you say after me, "You are beloved and you are welcome here"? You are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether tears have fallen from your eyes this past week, or gleeful laughter has spilled out of your smiling mouth, or rage has made your jaws clench, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you are feeling brave or brokenhearted, defiant or defeated, fearsome or fearful, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you have untold stories buried deep inside or stories that have been forced beyond the edges of comfort, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whether you have made promises, broken promises, or are renewing your promises, you are beloved and you are welcome here. Whatever is on your heart, however it is with your soul, however your body is experiencing this moment, You are beloved, and you are welcome here. In this space of welcome and acceptance, commitment and recommitment, of covenant and connection, let us worship together. And let's begin that worship by singing together with your glorious voices. Please rise in body or in spirit as we sing together our opening hymn, We Give Thanks, and we'll sing it twice through.
So one of our most sacred rituals is the lighting of our chalice. For us, it signifies the creation of a sacred space where we gather together in community. So as Reverend Ian lights our chalice, let's think about how this clear flame can be a symbol that every heart can burn bright with joy, peace, and harmony, and that every one of us can bring the light of love to the world. Because this church, may the quest for truth be its sacrament and service be its prayer, to dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, and to help one another in fellowship. This is our aspiration. And so one of the ways we covenant with each other to both welcome everyone into our community and celebrate the worthiness of all people is to participate in a candle lighting ceremony in support of Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, BIPOC. And for me personally, there is something about lighting the BIPOC candle that makes this ceremony feel a little more special, even holy, like when I light the menorah as part of my Hanukkah celebration. So now I would like to invite Paul to join me as we light our BIPOC candles. We light these candles in solidarity with Black, Indigenous, and other people of color as we journey together towards spiritual wholeness. May we, as a beloved community, work to dismantle racism and all forms of oppression. May we live our principles so that justice, dignity, and equity for all prevail. Thank you, Paul.
Stand up tall, speak out proud, dare to live your life out loud, and make your reign. The time has come to touch the sky, so spread your wings and fly. You are a yes, you are an inspiration, a story to You are a yes, you are a celebration, a wonder to behold. Never a neither, no neither or. You are so much more, you're so much more. You are a yes. Don't force yourself to crush yourself in someone else's mind. The star of who you are was always meant to shine. Time to shine. You are a yes, you are an inspiration, a story to be told. You are a yes, you are a celebration, a wonder to behold. Never a neither, no either or. You are so much more, you're so much more. You are a yes, you are a story to be told. You are a yes, you are a yes, you are a wonder to behold. You are a yes, you are a yes.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you. So our reading this morning is from To a Friend by Lucy Barnes. Lucy Barnes lived in Maine from 1780 to 1809 and was the child of a Universalist preacher. Because of illness, she could not travel or get out much, so she chose to spread her Universalist faith through many letters to friends and neighbors. Again, as Reverend Ian said, bear in mind that her letters are from the late 1700s, and she is using language of her time. The scriptures declare that God is love, that he is a good being, that he is no respecter of person, but is good to all, and that his tender mercies are over all his works, and that he has all power in his own hand, and worketh all things after the counsel of his own will. All nature likewise proclaims aloud this blessed and divine truth, and also bespeaks his wisdom to be infinite. He kindly condescends to call us his children and permit us to address him by the endearing appellation of Father. Is it possible that so good, so kind and loving a father can punish his tender and beloved offspring with the most exquisite misery to the endless ages of eternity for their disobedience to him and even for the most trivial faults? Shall we presume to impute those hateful passions to the Almighty, which he himself has taught us to despise in each other and which we absolutely abhor? You are a mother, and doubtless possessed of as tender feelings as ever warmed by the heart of a parent. And was I to say that you could with pleasure behold your children punished with such exquisite misery, even for an age, you would think that I was either beside myself or entertain a most unjust opinion of you. But if you could not endure the sight but for one age, what reason have you to suppose that the tenderest, most loving, and best of fathers could endure the shocking scene, the endless ages of eternity? And now for our offertory. I think most of us would agree that our sanctuary, church, and church grounds are very important to us. And like the earth, our church needs to be cared for, nurtured, and loved in order for future generations to enjoy and appreciate what we have today. So as the ushers come around for the offertory, please give as generously as you can to help support all the good works that we do and to keep this special place whole. Thank you all for your generosity this Sunday morning. It is all very much appreciated. And just as I talked about how we need to care for, nurture, and ensure that all of us today and future generations will always have this beautiful church as a safe place to gather, create community, and find joy and comfort through worship, I'd now like to introduce our Denise Jansen Eager, who will talk a little bit about why she pledges today. Thank you.
My name is Denise Jansen Eager, and I have the honor, privilege, and joy of chairing the Social Justice Committee. I cannot remember a time when I wasn't socially active or fighting against injustice. I attended college in Madison, Wisconsin, and was active in my local Amnesty International group. I was also a friend at First Unitarian Society of Madison. I graduated with dual degrees in special and regular education. During my 26-year career teaching in special education, co-teaching with regular education, I taught kindergarten through 12th grade in public schools, private schools, and prison facilities. This last place was at Lincoln Hills Correctional Facility School. In the late 1980s through early 1990s, when I was there, Lincoln Hills was a prison for middle and high school males and female teens sent there by the state of Wisconsin for crimes they had committed. Many of them came from Milwaukee, which, as you know, was disproportionately Black, African American, persons of color. One of the classes I taught was social studies. I quickly learned two things. I had a lot of latitude in what I taught, and my students had no idea they had any rights. So I taught them about people fighting for human rights without youth violence. We discussed current events like the reasons for the Berlin Wall coming down, Nelson Mandela being freed in South Africa, the riots in LA after the Rodney King verdict, and the Universalist Declaration of Human Rights. Through it all, they learned about their human and civil rights and how they needed to be responsible to protect their rights, but also the rights of others. It was this eye-opening experience, so I knew I needed to learn more to be able to do more. So while I was still teaching, I volunteered with Amnesty International Human Rights Education Network. I eventually became the Midwest Regional Coordinator, and we went around to the 13 states in the Midwest, teaching teachers and staff in public and private schools how to incorporate teaching about rights and topics of injustice in their curricula. I even had the privilege of getting to know UUA Minister Reverend Bill Schultz, who was at the time Executive Director of Amnesty International USA, and later served as the President and Chief Executive Officer of Unitarian Universalist Service Committee. Before Chris and I retired and moved to Palm Springs in 2013, we had become members by that time of First Unitarian Society when our son was born. He was now taking children's religious education classes and had finished all of them by his final class, coming of age. We were thrilled to find out that there was a Unitarian Universalist church in the Coachella Valley. So I quickly called Suzanne Marsh, who was minister at this time, but she sadly informed us that UUCOD did not offer coming of age, but Monte Vista Unitarian Universalist Congregation did. So we went there, and as soon as Ian graduated from his coming of age class in May 2014, we joined UUCOD and quickly became members. I then quickly became a member of the Social Justice Committee that very same year. At that time, Bob Hogue and Lloyd Newman were co-chairing it. Unfortunately, they stepped down in April 2016. At that time, there were 13 other members. As someone needed to fill their role of co-chair until we disbanded in June, so that would be for 2 months. I said I would temporarily become acting chair until one of the more veteran committee members who had a better understanding of our social justice goals stepped in to lead us on. Yeah, that didn't happen. So by default, I became chair of the Social Justice Committee. So yes, for those of you who are doing the math, I have been the chair for the past 9 years. And while I have a history of social justice activism, if it were not for the committee members who I've had the joy and pleasure of working alongside of, and those of you who step up to create a project for us or work on one of the many projects we do throughout the year, those of you who are liaison, or those for Share the Plate, or those of you who have given to Share the Plate, or those of you who have volunteered for any one of the many things we do out in the community, I would have burned out long ago. It is you, the community that has kept me going. I was no longer just one person doing the work to fight injustice. All of us together are fighting injustice. And to me, this is more important than it is ever before. So why should we give our talents, time, and treasure to this beloved community? Because we create and live into connections with each other in meaningful ways that we wouldn't have if we hadn't given. It's that simple. This is our chosen family, yours and mine. And regardless of whether we are here online or in person on Sundays, it's just the beginning of being part of our beloved community. So please, give however you are able. Come to a social justice committee meeting or any of the committees or groups you're aligned with. Fill out your pledge form. Do whatever you need to do to be with this beloved community. Every Sunday, our wonderful worship associates say these words at the beginning of our services. Our goal is to build a community centered in justice, in compassion, and in love. Thank you for helping create our goal.
Thank you, choir. I want you to hold what the choir has sung for us today in your hearts as the remainder of the service happens. Their first song, You Are a Yes. You are a yes. You are here and you are imbued, endowed, born with dignity and worth. And we will find a new way together. We are woven together. Thank you, choir, for that sermon today. I'm done. Okay. I'm just This is our time in our service where we share our joys and sorrows, those things which are heavy on our hearts. And I may be like you or different from you, but there have been a lot of words this week. There have been words of anger, words of hatred. There have been words of rallying and resistance, words of possibility and hope. So many words coming at us all of the time that I am craving a moment of quiet here with you. So I'm going to share the joys and sorrows that have been shared with us and then invite you into a longer time of quiet today. These are the joys and sorrows that have been shared with our community today, and I have a smile on my face because this is a joy. I'm not going to say who it's from. Gratitude for our Unitarian Universalist friend who felt comfortable enough to brush leaves off of my rear end, writes someone today. We care for each other. We care about how we are together in the world. And a candle for peace and for health. Peace and health. These are the things that we wish for ourselves, for our neighbors and our friends, for everyone in our community, everyone in our nation and our world. Peace and health. So I invite you into a time of quiet with these words of the Reverend David Bumbaugh. We are here dedicated to the proposition that beneath all of our differences, behind all of our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us forever together in spite of time and death and the space between the stars. We pause in silent witness to that unity. May all beings know peace. May all beings know an end to suffering. May all beings know love. Friends, will you join your voices together as we sing our hymns for meditation? Spirit of Life, Fuente de Amor.
Spirit of life, come unto me, sing in my heart all the stirrings of compassion, blow in the wind, rise in the sea, move in the hand, giving life the shape of justice, roots all
During an episode of the TV show Ted Lasso, Ted is trying to teach another character about a better way to interact with people. He shares a quotation, something I said to you earlier, a quotation that he remembers seeing attributed to Walt Whitman: "Be curious, not judgmental." Now, it's a great quote that entirely encapsulates Ted's philosophy of life. The trouble is, it wasn't written by Walt Whitman. It seems that it comes from an advice column in a Charlotte newspaper from the late 1980s and wasn't Walt Whitman at all. Though if you search online, you'll see all sorts of people and organizations sharing that the quote does come from Whitman. You can buy it on t-shirts and mugs, so it must be true. It's a problem that we have a lot. It can be a full-time job just making sure that the things that you're quoting actually come from the people you think they do. Finding passages erroneously attributed to the Buddha online, for example, is a cottage industry these days. And we are living in a time of intentional and malicious disinformation and trolling, when it is dangerous to just believe everything you read online. Now, we Unitarian Universalists are not immune to this error, despite our belief in our own infallibility. The title of today's sermon comes from this passage. Again, the words of our ancestors: "Go out into the highways and byways, give the people something of your new vision. You possess a small light, but uncover it. Let it shine. Use it in order to bring more light and understanding to the hearts and minds of men and women. Give them not hell, but hope and courage. Preach the kindness and everlasting love of God." Now, this quote is usually attributed to the Reverend John Murray. John Murray was an English preacher who arrived in New Jersey in the midst of a storm in 1770 and became the founder of the very first Universalist congregation in our nation. Trouble is, the quote is actually from a pamphlet called Our Liberal Heritage, produced in 1955 by Alfred Cole, who imagined the spirit of the time inspiring John Murray with those words. And through time and human imperfectness, the quote has been attributed to Murray. Even in our hardcover hymnals, if you look in the back of our hardcover hymnal, number 704, you will see those words attributed to Murray. And that's fun to think about. But regardless of where those words came from, the sentiment of them can still call us today. Give them not hell, but hope and courage. Preach the kindness and everlasting love of God. This message is at the heart of the part of our religious heritage that we call universalism. And it's what I want to talk about today, especially as we are asking ourselves individually and collectively, asking ourselves questions of how we can share our faith, how we can share our vision for a different way of being in the face of the oppressive, greed-centered, individualist, cruel vision of our current leaders in this country. What is our vision? Where is it grounded? We know and we talk a lot about the fact that we understand that every person is worthy and holy, everybody is a yes, and that difference is richness, and that the fabric of our society is better woven together from diverse and beautiful fibers. Simply put, and in its original form, universalism is the understanding, the belief, that God will not damn any human to hell for eternity. That all souls, there, hence the universal, all souls will return to the embrace of the divine. In Christian terms, it's grounded in the understanding that the saving work of Jesus was not for one small set of humans, but for humanity as a whole. Various religious traditions hold some of this understanding in non-Christian ways as well, but it is essentially the idea that every human is loved and redeemed by the mystery that is the cosmos. Every human. It grows out of the experience and study in the earliest days of the Christian church, and it has developed over the centuries. Here in the United States, the more organized version of these beliefs began to be expressed and explored more formally with the arrival of John Murray on these shores and the spread of Universalist congregations here. Unitarian Universalist historian Dan McCannon said about these early American Universalists that the largest number of early Universalists came out of Baptist churches in West New England. They were a diverse group of communities. They didn't have much in common other than their belief in universal salvation and a fierce opposition to state-sponsored religion. That opposition to state-sponsored religion brought them into conflict over and over again with our Unitarian ancestors, just so you know. We can tell more of that story another time. Universalists shared that their vision of God's love, they shared it in sermons and in pamphlets over the dinner table and in parlors on the road and in letters. Go out on the highways and byways. There were circuit preachers who got on their horse and their cart and moved from town to small town preaching the good news of universalism, and wrote lots of letters like those of Lucy Barnes, whose words Walter shared some of with you earlier. Early American Universalists faced criticism and questioning from more traditional believers who wondered, how could we expect humans to be good, to repent of their wicked ways if the fear of eternal hell wasn't drummed into them? Where is the impetus for right behavior and practice? Well, for thinkers like Hosea Ballou, who converted to Universalism in 1789 and began serving congregations and writing through the beginning of the 19th century, the threat of punishment of hell was not necessary. The reward for good behavior, he wrote, for righteousness, the reward was the experience of doing it and the knowledge of God's love through that behavior, he said. Doing good felt good. Doing bad felt bad. There is no reward beyond loving God and all creatures. This love is itself the bliss of salvation, he wrote. The law and justice and love of God is so good that all will turn toward it in the end. Like all religious and philosophical positions and traditions, Universalism grew and evolved as it encountered the hearts and minds and experiences of new people. It's understanding that, as Ballou wrote, all souls are loved and therefore saved, grew and deepened into the 20th century and became, for some, the basis of new understandings of how religion and the church should be involved in shaping our society. Clarence Skinner, who was a minister, academic, and theologian in the first half of the 20th century, he was adamant that Universalism was the religion that society needed, and that society needed Universalists to act in the day-to-day world toward improvement and justice. In a book called The Social Implications of Universalism, he wrote, "Society needs religion in terms of contemporary life, a religion which will be founded on a 20th century psychology and theology, a religion which is throbbing with the dynamic of democracy." I love that, throbbing with the dynamic of democracy, a spirituality which expresses itself in terms of humanism rather than in terms of individualism. If all humans were worthy of love, then all humans deserve to live in safety and prosperity and in a just society and at peace. Skinner aligned his religion and his work in the world with worker movements, with class movements, and was often accused of being a communist. But his work was not about communism, he wrote, but working class movements to transform society. And you could see the roots of our current justice work in Skinner's convictions. As I was studying in seminary, of course, I ran into many ministers and thinkers whose Unitarian Universalism leaned heavily on the Universalism side of things. My professor, the Reverend David Bumbaugh, a non-theistic Universalist, wrote the words I used as part of our prayer today and which I use now in every celebration of life that I lead. "We are here dedicated," he wrote, "to the proposition that beneath all of our differences, behind all of our diversity, there is a unity that makes us one and binds us together forever, in spite of time and death and the space between the stars. I aspire to that writing, the time and death and the space between the stars. I also met the Reverend Mark Morrison Reed, who, with his wife Donna, had served the Unitarian Universalist congregations in Rochester, New York, and in Toronto, in Canada. He was the internship supervisor of the minister Greg Ward, who was to become my internship supervisor. Mark was often in the Meadville Library doing research when I was a student assistant there, and we talked a lot. His universalism was vibrant for him and expressed with great passion and obvious joy in a sermon that he called Dragged Kicking and Screaming into Heaven, which comes from the writing of Reverend McKeon, who talked about universalism being the idea that even the most unrepentant sinner, think of any of them in your head, even the most unrepentant sinner will eventually be dragged by their collar, kicking and screaming into heaven. In the sermon that he titled that, he talked of his conversion to universalism and his understanding of how it moved him and our movement. He used the word God, as many of the Universalist folks do, to talk about the divine mystery, but he understood that universalism was broader than that. The word he used, God, for him, meant to him the unknowable, unfathomable, and ineffable that is as close as the next heartbeat, as ordinary as a mote of dust, as precious as a newborn, the transcendent mystery at the core of all things, whatever word we use for that. And that this transcendent mystery shared love with all. There is nothing I can do, he wrote, to alienate myself from its loving embrace. Like Skinner before him, Mark passionately believed that we need a message that proclaims the oneness of the human family. I want to pause here for a moment and suggest that our understanding that everyone will eventually be embraced by the divine mystery, that there is no eternal punishment, can, if we're not careful, drift into us understanding that we don't deserve to be damned. That it is us who are at the center of that understanding, that we are special as human beings and undamnable. The joke is that Universalists believe that God is too good to damn humans, and Unitarians believe that we're too good to be damned. And we have trouble. We can slip into that place where we understand ourselves to be special in that way. And we do understand that every human being is born with worth and dignity, but we can go too far down that path into lifting ourselves out of the mess and ignoring the fact that we can and do stray from our values, that we and our institutions can err, can cause harm and damage, can do bad things. When we understand ourselves to be perfect in that way, and then we're challenged with our inevitable messiness and imperfections, we can freeze or become defensive, refuse to see reality in front of us. And as the Reverend Nancy MacDonald Ladd writes, using her own language and understanding, it is the infinite goodness of God that saves us, she says, not the infinite potential of our own capacities. For Nancy, the real good news of universalism in the 21st century is not that everything's fine and we are just perfect, but that we are not alone. That we are, in fact, guided, however we name it, guided by, accountable to, and held by forces within us, among us, and beyond us, whose names are not always easy to pin down, she says, but whose ancient cry is still love. Love eternal, love unbidden and unearned, love no matter what, no matter who, no matter where. This is the love that makes itself known in our heart and minds as we build relationships, as we choose and act in the world, understanding that we are never forsaken by the love that holds and binds us. We are not engaged in the work we are doing in the world on a whim. It is not a new thing. We are not radically changing who we are because we feel like it or because in this moment we feel like everything we hold dear is threatened. Deep in our history, in our tradition and in this country, and throughout the decades, our universalism has called us to see all humanity as one, to defend our understanding that all of humanity is one and loved and worthy, not because we are perfect, not because we never make mistakes or hurt each other or betray our values, not because we are the be-all and end-all of evolution or intelligence or fitness, but because we are all children of the same holy universe, the same divine reality, the same interwoven cosmos that is held together by love, and we are each other's kin in this life. This is our grounding when we demand the protection of our social safety net. This is our grounding when we call for humanitarian aid. This is our grounding when we craft and defend democratic processes so that all can participate in governance and be safe. This is our grounding when we speak and act against warfare and militarism. This is our grounding when we march and protest and phone and write, demanding justice and kindness and inclusion and hope. This is our heritage. This is our commitment when we call ourselves Unitarian Universalists. This is Mark Morrison Reed's religion of radical and overpowering love. It is Lucy Barnes' God who pours down tender mercy over all their works. This is Clarence Skinner's religion, which is throbbing with the dynamic of democracy. This is Nancy MacDonald Ladd's conviction that we are in fact guided by, accountable to, and held by forces within us, among us, and beyond us, and that what they are guiding us toward is love. I know that sometimes you come here on a Sunday morning to be inspired and challenged to live out your deepest values, to find ways to grapple with the world and figure out how to fight for it. I know that sometimes you come here for community, to be reminded that you are not alone, to see loving faces and hear kind voices in a chaotic and sometimes cruel world. And I know that sometimes you come here for a respite, for calm, quiet, for a place of serenity, even if it is temporary, to hear words and music of comfort and care. For all of you, whatever day it is for all of us, the Universalist message is here. You are loved. You are cared for, and we are called to be the dreaming and the voice and the guardian and the working hands of that love and care in the world. May it be so in our hearts and in our lives. Friends, hearing that call of love, let's answer that yes that the choir sang about earlier. Will you rise, please, in body or in spirit, and sing together, answering the call of love.
Faith, hope, and love abide, and so every soul is blessed and made whole. The truth in our hearts is our guide. We are standing on the side of love.
Actually, let's stop there for a second. In front of you, you may be lucky to have a teal hymnal in the slot underneath you. It's number 10. 14, just grab it for a second. We'll give our AV folks a moment to. If you can't find a hymnal, can you snuggle up to someone who has one? Share. Okay, we have enough? Okay, Joel, let's try again, please. The promise of the Spirit, 10:14.
Of the Spirit, faith, hope, and love to keep love tightly bound. Corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear. Corrupted by fear, unwilling to hear. Denying the beauty we felt. Denying the beauty we are answering the call of love. We are answering the call of love. Hands joined together. Hands joined together as hearts beat as one. Emboldened by faith, we dare to proclaim we are answering restless love thereof. We are answering the call of love. Please have a seat, friends. Thank you. So, before Walter talks, thank you for going with the flow. You'll notice that in the hymnal, the words are standing on the side of flow. That was how it was originally published. And over time, people shared with the composer, Jason Shelton, that that language was exclusionary. That it didn't leave any space for people who rolled around the world or crawled or didn't move in a way or couldn't stand. And so he was invited to change the words and chose to change the words to, we are answering the call of love. Hence that verbal confusion among us. You still sounded fabulous. Thank you.
Well, this is a very hard act to follow, but I'll try without congregational news. So when we talk about community and connection, today is the last opportunity to sign up for the Dining Divas Noon Lunch tomorrow at Wang's in Cathedral City. The sign-up sheets are on the wall between the sanctuary doors, or contact host Cheryl Eaton. Another announcement, and today we also talked a lot about sharing our faith. Well, now you can do your part and start sharing what is in your garage and you no longer find worthy. Yes, coming up March 7th and 8th is our annual yard sale. We need more of your donations and your help to make this a success. So please mark it on your calendar to come. This is so much more fun than trying to sell it on eBay. Jane Beth Stover will be at the table on the patio after the service. She'll be there to answer any questions you may have, and please sign up to volunteer. And then the last, almost last, if you recall during my welcoming remarks, I talked about how we protect Earth and all beings from exploitation, as well as honoring the inherent worth and dignity of every being by making everyone welcome. There are many ways that we do that, but one, which is intentionally increasing accessibility into our wonderful garden. And with that in mind, we will be putting in walkways all next week to each of the 3 benches that were put in late last year. And what will that entail? Well, thank you for asking. So, a large amount of material will be dropped off tomorrow, February 10th. We hope to get it all out of the parking lot and into the path before the weekend. We can use help starting this Tuesday morning for things like raking away the sand, lightly watering the materials to compact it, and transporting the rock, gravel, and decomposed granite to the specific locations via wagon. So if you or some other stalwart, meaning younger, members among your friends and family could help this week, that would be gratefully appreciated. We also use interested people. We are also use interested people to come with music, liquid refreshments, good cheer, and encouragement to keep our spirits up while we construct these sturdy walkways. Please contact David Emerson if you can be there on Tuesday, Wednesday, or Thursday in the morning. Thank you. And I have one last announcement, which is a bit of self-promotion. I was recently in a show, photography show at UCR Palm Desert Center, and the show is done, but some of my works are hanging in the community room, along with some other photography that I've done. So if you're at all inclined, I invite you to take a peek and see what I find one of my passions in the world, and that's photography. So, thank you. So I have to chuckle a bit. I had come up with a quote to introduce the extinguishing of the chalice, and unbeknownst to me, Reverend Ian stole that quote. But the good news is I got the source right. So Alfred S. Cole, I think it's bad repeating. Alfred S. Cole, a Universalist minister, scholar, and writer, wrote, "Though you possess only a small light, uncover it. Let it shine. Use it in order to bring more light and more understanding to the hearts and minds of men and women." So with that, we will extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. With these we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Friends, before I share my benediction, I want to remind you, you may have noticed in the newspaper, we've been having conversations over the past little while about the ongoing mission and vision of this congregation, and I'm hosting another one of those conversations this afternoon after service here in the sanctuary if you'd like to join. If you haven't been able to come to one of the conversations, and I know many of you haven't been able to come to one of the conversations, we'll be having more, and we'll be announcing them as we go through the next couple of months. But this is a time to share where you see the vision of our congregation going over the next years, 5-10 years, how you see us living our faith into the world in this place and in the broader community. So I invite you to join me if you feel comfortable or are interested. We'd love to have your voice as part of that process. Repetition is good for the heart. Inspired today by the words of our Universalist compatriots and forebears, I say this to you. Go out into the highways and byways. Give the people something of your new vision. You possess a small light, but uncover it, let it shine, use it in order to bring more light and understanding to the hearts and minds of everyone you meet. Give them not hell, but hope and courage, preach kindness and everlasting love. Go in peace, my friends, to love and serve the world.